In the world of cinema, not every film that gets the green light makes it to the big screen. Studios, directors, and producers sometimes decide to pull the plug on films for a wide range of reasons, from budget issues to creative differences. Here are 5 notable films from major studios that were never released, and the stories behind why they were shelved. The Goldfinch, 2019. Studio, Warner Brothers Pictures. Director, John Crowley. Plot, based on Donna Tartt's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. The Goldfinch tells the story of a young boy, Theo, who survives a terrorist bombing at a museum that kills his mother. In the chaos, he steals a famous painting, The Goldfinch, which becomes a symbol of both his trauma and his quest for meaning. The film starred Ansel Elgort and Nicole Kidman, and was a highly anticipated release. Why it was shelved? Despite its strong source material and talented cast, The Goldfinch failed to live up to expectations. The film was heavily criticized for its pacing issues, lackluster performances, and the challenges of adapting such a complex novel into a cohesive film. Warner Brothers Pictures pushed forward with the release despite early warnings, but the film performed poorly at the box office and received mixed reviews. It was quickly overshadowed by other films, and ultimately, the studio chose not to push forward with any additional plans for expanding or adapting the novel's universe. The Fantastic Four, 1994. Studio, Constantine film director, Oli Sassone. Plot, this was an attempt to adapt Marvel's iconic superhero team, the Fantastic Four, into a film. The film starred actors like Alex Hyde-White and Rebecca Staub, and it was meant to be a low-budget production aimed at securing the film rights for Marvel. It has become infamous for its low production values, poorly designed costumes, and lackluster special effects. Why it was shelved? In reality, the entire project was produced simply to retain the film rights to the characters. The rights were nearing expiration, and so the studio rushed the film into production with no intention of releasing it in theaters. Once the film was completed, the studio decided it was unfit for distribution, and it was never shown to the public. The movie was leaked online in the early 2000s, and over time, it gained a cult following due to its amateurish quality. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, 1998. Studio, multiple studios, including Revolution Films director, Terry Gilliam. Plot, Terry Gilliam's long gestating passion project. This film follows a modern-day advertising executive who is transported into the world of Don Quixote. The film had a star-studded cast, including Johnny Depp and Jean Rochefort. However, despite the star power and an interesting concept, the film faced numerous challenges that prevented it from reaching completion. Why it was shelved? Terry Gilliam's vision for the film faced continuous setbacks. The production encountered major financial issues, including a lack of proper funding, and the cast was forced to deal with injuries, including Jean Rochefort's back issues, which ultimately delayed the film. The movie was riddled with technical issues and was plagued by constant interference from producers. The film was nearly abandoned several times, and it wasn't until 2018 that Gilliam finally finished it after decades of struggles. Despite its troubled production, it did eventually see a limited release in 2018. Batgirl, 2022. Studio, Warner Brothers Pictures. Director, Adil El Arbi. Bilal Fallah. Plot, Batgirl was set to be a new addition to the DC Extended Universe, starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. The film, which was intended for a direct-to-HBO Max release, also featured J.K. Simmons, reprising his role as Commissioner Gordon, and Michael Keaton, returning as Batman. The plot followed Barbara Gordon as she navigates her newfound identity as Gotham's vigilante hero, while dealing with personal and family struggles. Why it was shelved? Despite nearly completing production, Batgirl was abruptly canceled by Warner Brothers Pictures in 2022. The decision was made in the wake of the merger between Warner Media and Discovery, which led to a major restructuring of the studio's film strategy. Executives reportedly felt that the film, which had already cost $90 million, didn't meet the studio's standards for a theatrical release. especially when compared to other big-budget films in the DC Extended Universe. The cancellation was met with public outrage, as much of the cast and crew had invested significant effort into the project. The film was officially shelved and has not been released, even in a limited or streaming format. The Clovehitch Killer, 2019. Studio, RLJE Films. Director, Duncan Skiles. Plot. This psychological thriller starred Dylan McDermott and Charlie Plummer, with a storyline centered around a young boy who begins to suspect that his father might be the infamous Clovehitch Killer, a serial killer responsible for a string of disappearances. As the boy unravels the truth, he is faced with moral and emotional dilemmas that test his perception of family and justice, why it was shelved. Despite receiving praise for its performances and its unsettling tone, the Clovehitch Killer struggled with distribution challenges. After screening at film festivals, the movie was initially slated for a wider release, but due to timing conflicts, marketing issues, and a lack of significant studio support, the film was quietly shelved in favor of other more commercial releases. The film eventually received a limited release, but it didn't receive the broader attention that its critical acclaim may have warranted. It's a great example of how films with potential can sometimes slip through the cracks, unable to find their intended audience. These modern films show how unpredictable the movie business can be. From creative differences to corporate restructuring, these projects faced challenges that ultimately led to their shelving, even though they had the potential to make a significant impact on audiences.